Hey Techno Studs, in this video we're going to go over static PAT. I could have easily covered this in my last video, but the use case for static PAT could be quite a bit different, and so I wanted to cover it in a separate video. So let's take a look at it. This is my network right here. I'm going to be setting up network translation on this router 3. Off this router 3, I have a switch. The switch IP address is 10.2.0.5. What I want to do is I want to translate it, just like I did in my last video, to 10.240.3.3. But in this case, I'm just going to choose a single port. I'm choosing port 22, so that's the SSH port on this switch. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to choose a non-standard port to translate it from, so 5050. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this is usually you want to do a standard port. So as an example, if it's a web server, I'd probably be setting up this translation directly from port 80 to port 80 or from port 443 to 443. Something that's standard. And the problem with not being standard is that you have to then go in and specify the port. So if I specify 443, or if it's 443 and I specify something that's non-standard, then I'd actually have to specify the port, which can be problematic for your end users. So, but this purpose right here, this isn't for end users. I want to manage this device and I want to manage it from the outside world. Now, since it's SSH, I can make a secure connection. But if I had port 22 out there to the outside world, there's a lot of people that are trying to hack port 22. And so they're looking for the low-hanging fruit. They're looking for the easy targets. And port 22 is an easy target. They would connect to it and they would try a lot of user names and passwords to see if they can hack into it. Therefore, this switch would constantly be bombarded. Now, they can do something similar with port 5050. They can do a port scan, see that it's open, try to make SSH connection to it, and test a lot of different usernames and passwords. It's just there's a lot less people that are trying to do that with port 5050. And so therefore, this switch won't try to be accessed as much and hacked as much using a non-standard port. That's why I'm choosing it. So the first thing that I need to do is get on this router 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get on the router 3, get into the global configuration mode. I'm going to first of all do my IP addresses here. So I'm going to copy this. My interfaces, excuse me. I'm going to do the IP NAT inside and IP NAT outside interfaces. This error is expected. It's because of my memory on this device. So I'm going to just ignore that. And the next thing that I need to do is my IP NAT statement. So I've got this IP NAT inside source static. So that's pretty standard there. I've got this TCP because I'm going to be using port 22. So it's going to be TCP and I've specified the ports in here, so 22 and 550. So I'm going to copy this right here. I'm going to paste it onto this device right here. And now it should be doing that port translation. And I could do one of those show commands to see, make sure that it has it in its entry. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try a new session. I'm going to connect to this switch 1 over in the SRV network. So I'll load that up. Of course, the IP address is wrong. What the IP address I'm connecting to now is 10.240.3.3, and the port number for it is 5050. So this is where I say I need to be able to catch this and make sure that I enter in the right one. So I've got this. I'm going to open a connection to this. So I'll do an open, and it's made connectivity. This is showing the certificate. Do I accept the certificate? I'm going to accept it. And now I can get onto this device. So there, we now have access to this port 5050 rather than directly to the device itself on this 10.2.0.5 port 22. So we have successfully set up port address translation, a static port address translation on router 3.